Hello, my name is Nikki Fetterman. I am the Education Outreach Coordinator at the Canton Museum of Art. I am here with Lee Kopp and Alex Owens over at Kopperhead Studios in North Canton, and this is our very special holiday business spotlight. Hello, it's wonderful to be here with you.
Thank you very much.
Lee, I'm going to jump in. This is Kopperhead, and you are Lee Kopp.
You made the connection.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about how you got into owning this studio, how your career has kind of gone, and also who designed the studio.
Okay. First off, I started music at a very young age, piano, trumpet, that kind of stuff, which led to recording because my father bought a mono Webcore tape recorder for us to practice to and learn from. So that's really how far back it goes. In 1976, I formed the corporation, Kopperhead, and we specialized in original music for advertising and commercials.
Okay.
Slideshows, audio visuals, things like that. And we worked out of my house at the time and built this facility in 1980. So we've been here for 40 years. And it's a really miraculous facility with wonderful acoustics. It was designed by a fellow named John Storick out of New York City. John is one of the top 3 studio designers on the planet. And his first studio design was Electric Ladyland for Jimi Hendrix in New York City. So he has a very storied past. Okay? We built this primarily to do original music, with the studio side being kind of like, okay, now what are we going to do with the place in the evenings? So that's how we progressed, and we did that for years and years and years. And we have worked with all sorts of wonderful clients, especially in the triangle of Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Columbus, and everything in between.
Alex, how did you end up coming into the studio as an engineer here, and kind of what has your relationship been with the studio?
Yeah, so I started the program over at Kent State at Stark when they had a partnership with Kopperhead. During my second year in that program, third year in that program, I would wind up taking classes here directly under Lee, and try to take as much advantage of having the excellent resources here as possible. And I guess I didn't bug them too much, so decided to keep me around and invite me back in once I graduated, and I've been working here since. Just really thankful to have such a wonderful place to be creative in.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Now, I know that you said that you went to Kent State Stark, and that as part of their audio recording program, a lot of people may not know, but Kent State does have a great music program, but Kent State Stark actually is where all of the audio engineering, recording things kind of happen, and Lee's studio, Kopperhead, is a big part of that, or was a large part of that for quite a while. Lee, what was it like being somebody who doubled as an engineer and also a professor?
It's very interesting because I don't have a teaching background. My degree is in business management and applied piano and economics, of all things. But really, I looked at it as an opportunity, number one, to develop the program, and number two, to be able to pass along a lot of the things I've learned, tricks of the trade, and things like that. So I really enjoyed doing it. It was 9 years worth.
Wow. Being able to kind of generate new ideas in the minds of students is really exciting, especially when you do have so much to share.
Well, and it goes both ways, too. The students bring up things, you go, oh, yeah, let's make this connection now.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street.
Yeah, really definitely.
Especially in something that is very technical and yet very creative all at the same time.
Yeah.
A lot of forces butting heads naturally in that way, but it also helps, hear ideas and perspectives that you might not otherwise.
I'm going to ask both of you separately, What is the most outlandish thing that you have done in the studio? I know I have heard many stories about many engineers doing things like throwing guitars off of cliffs and all kinds of crazy stuff. Have you ever done anything totally wild?
Yeah.
What is it?
A lot of different things. One thing that was very interesting, we did a piece of, I will call, creative composition for a CBS telefilm called Arthur the King. And we had the scene where a knight in most of his armor, all beat up, is pushing a wooden wheelbarrow up this stony cliff-like hill. So we used all sorts of imagination and tools to create the sounds for that, such as using timpani mallets on the control room glass, using the doors on the little equipment bays and making them squeak a little bit and then slowing that way down. So it was really fun. I still have the actual chart of the composition upstairs, which most people would look up and say that's not music at all. No, it's more of a piece of art relating to timing and what needs to happen when and everything else. But most people would consider that a pretty bizarre thing.
It's like sound design.
Sound design,
yeah.
Sound implementation, using pots and pans with X amount of water in them and hitting them with a mallet and bending them, and lots of fun things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's one that sticks out pretty quick.
That's awesome. Alex, do you have anything totally crazy?
Nothing quite that exciting. You know, I like to, but you know, I usually wind up getting a kick out of just using the room to as much advantage as possible. You know, it's just given the way it's designed, it's very flexible in that way to kind of, you got an extra couple of channels and a microphone you're not doing anything with. Yeah, we're going to put it 12 feet up in the ceiling and aim it down. Or, yeah, we'll stick an earthworks inside the piano while there's a drum set going on to get something weird. But nothing quite as destructive.
Okay.
Yet.
So, yet. That's the key word there. So we're talking about the way that the studio is designed. I know that you had talked a little bit about the actual designer and how he has designed a lot of other pretty reputable, awesome studios. But what makes the design of Kopperhead really special, and why might people want to come here to record?
Okay, first of all, we're dealing basically with two rooms right here. This is the control room. It's where we get to control everything. Okay? Different kind of room entirely. This room's designed to sound really good right here, so that the engineer can make the decisions, the engineer and the producer. Whereas out there in the studio, we want all the instruments to sound as good and the people to sound as good as they possibly can. One of the things that happens with a great room, and people around here are lucky they can go up to Severance Hall in Cleveland and hear a great orchestra room, one of the best, is that you can hear everything that's going on. Some artists don't know how to handle that because they haven't heard themselves that way before. But for us, it's how we can decide and determine, okay, is this expression of this phrase really correct? Is it what the artist wants it to be? Is it matching the tenor of the song and the delivery of the song and everything else? So the acoustics play a huge role. Okay, we're in North Canton, Ohio. This is not a hotbed of recording activity, okay, to say the least. But there are a lot of well-trained musicians around here. There are a lot of what we call weekend warriors, people who really enjoy music and spend their weekends performing somewhere. Now, the advantage of these rooms is how diverse our clients are. So we can have a heavy metal band in there one day, a church choir the next weekend, acoustic guitar, harpist. It's really flexible because it is such a good room. And to give you an idea, one of the hardest things we've had in here to record is a handbell choir.
Oh,
and
interesting.
you put 34 people around the room with little teeny bells to the big bells. And it's just a very difficult thing to record and get the separation so that you can make the control and the mix that you want to make.
But we can do it here, you know? And
yeah.
I don't know how many rooms, especially in this area, can pull that off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some cinder blocks and handbells, and I'm thinking of all of the really uncomfortable sounds you might get.
The truth is, there are different studios in the area. Some of those are definitely aimed at purely doing rock and roll. And they're in a warehouse or shopping center type situation, which is cinder block walls covered with paint and something. So it's a radical difference coming in here and having a room where you can move the vocalist around for different sounds, different effects. A man who builds guitars and comes in and can hear all these differences, and you go around the room and you try these different microphones and say, okay, this is where we want the guitar to be. And he's making audio and video of the guitars he's made so that he can sell them. So he has to have it sounding the best those guitars can sound, and we can do that.
How has COVID kind of, impacted the way that your studio is running currently?
Currently, it's not too bad. When it first came out, we were closed down for 3.5 months like most other service businesses were. So that's very hard to deal with. We do the masks, we do the 6 feet, you can see our stripe on the floor. We do everything we can do.
I know that you are working, as a lot of businesses are right now, to stay open and stay safe for the people coming in. But something that's kind of cool about a business like this is it is so controlled. It is so well, organized, and it's not something where, you're going to have 1,000 people coming in and out of the doors at all times.
Yeah. I think we've always done a good job of running a tight ship in that way. So really, having to adhere, to the safety guidelines and stuff hasn't been too difficult.
We have a handout that if somebody contacts us, we're going to email to them before they come in so they know what the rules and regulations have been. And in all honesty, in all this time since, we've only ever had one client that said, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So people understand. They're going through it in their daily lives with their families and everything else too. Another advantage somewhat is once the musicians are out there to perform and we're in here, it's not nearly mask-centric. You can't sing and wear a mask.
Yeah.
Okay? Or play a horn or whatever. So we're really flexible about that. Once the engineer and everybody's working and getting everything set up, once everybody separates then to actually do the recording and the performing.
And help bring the comfort level back down.
Yeah, you have to be yourself to be a musician and express what you need to get out.
Yeah, definitely.
It's another advantage of having, how thick are the walls?
Oh, yeah, very thick.
One word.
You have a control room here.
Precisely.
You can be inside of here while other people are out there. And certainly they might come in to listen to the mix, and they might come in to see how everything is sounding. But it's going to be really controlled, and I'm sure that you can do things like masks when you come in the control room and things like that. So
also, the nature of the rooms and the design of the rooms, this room has its own heating and air conditioning. The studio has its own heating and air conditioning.
So there are some advantages.
So the air isn't going back and forth between the two rooms unless the doors are open and people are going back and forth.
Is there anything that you really want to highlight about Kopperhead that we haven't already talked about?
I would say as much as the rooms can take your breath away and everything else, it's the people. Okay, how you deal with someone who is basically bearing their soul through their music is very important. And I believe that we are really good at one-on-one. Say, okay, you're a little excited, let's stop and take a second. Come in and take and listen to the last pass before you try the next one. There's lots of little things you can do. And I hope that I imparted some of those, in my classes. But it really is, your time is important. And your time is on the clock. So it's really important. The client can get very excited about it isn't going right. There's some times where you just have to stop and say, this isn't working today, let's come back another time. So I think the important part is that we're musicians too. We've been on the other side of the glass. I mean, that's how I started all of this. So it's really important to deal with the person and their music.
That's great to know.
Yeah, pretty much back up exactly where you're at. I think we really excel at taking what to a lot of people, rightfully so, could be a very intimidating experience looking around at a room like this, and just trying to make them as comfortable as possible to bring out the best performance possible. As someone that has walked in this room very nervously before, definitely understand just how intimidating it can be but we're here to make the best music we can, and getting to understand your clients' expectations and just their workflow. Everyone works different, pushing some people one way can get the best take that day. Sometimes it could mess up with their flow. So everyone's different, and that's part of one of the many things that keeps the job exciting.
Speaking of performances, what are some cool recording things you have coming up? If you can talk about maybe some bands you're recording with, maybe some little projects in the works or anything.
Sure. Well, this weekend I'm very excited to be helping my friends in Curtail from Cleveland do they have several projects in the works, and we're going to be doing the drum and bass recording here. I'm very excited about that. I've been working with another newer client, James. He's a very skilled singer-songwriter. We're working on putting together an EP over the next 6 months or so. Very excited about that project. Over the past summer, I had a semi-local. They're from Toledo, not Toledo. Youngstown, La Verte, the post-rock band, their first release in about 10 years. They came back to do their record here, and that was a lot of fun. Got to work with Lee's son, Alex, he did some extra production on that one out of New York, and that was really exciting.
You're going to do that with James.
And I'm hoping to do that with James, too, which, the more opportunities that we get to work together on.
You just finished up a country band out in the Sugar Creek area. So
it's been busy, which is
when
nice.
I say this is a diverse market, it really is.
Yeah.
So you can have a bluegrass band one time and a rock band the next time, and it's very diverse.
That's awesome.
Which I've always liked. That's part of the reason I built this here instead of other places. I'll give you a joke. My dad wanted me to go to college real bad, and his analysis was, you don't want to be sitting in a factory punching buttons all your life. So now I sit in this beautiful room punching buttons.
You gotta choose your room.
Yeah.
Nice room.
Yeah, it is. So one thing I think is really interesting about what you were just saying, Alex, is that you've been working with an artist, and you'll be working with that artist over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
I think something a lot of people don't understand about when they come into the studio is, you have this vision of what you see on TV, and it's like, there's this rock band, and they're coming in, and it's a weekend, and they're just rocking out, and they record 14 songs, and everything's perfect, and it gets pressed the next week. And certainly that can happen, possibly, but chances are you're going to be working on something for an extremely long period of time. So what's cool about this, and what I'm really getting from this conversation with you, is you're relationship builders. You are building relationships with your clients. You're also, in a little bit of a way, psychologists. You're working with them to kind of see what's in their brain, pick their brain, and to know how to best communicate with them to get the best thing out of them. And you are also artists, because not only are you helping kind of curate the other artist's vision, you're also really, you're making sure that it happens. You're kind of painting the sound.
We're facilitators.
You are. You're facilitators, and yeah, it's really cool.
You brought up about what people see in TV and in the movies and that. And the public doesn't understand that those are all staged.
Yeah.
That's not the real recording session. Taylor Swift is not standing there looking immaculate, and all these musicians there for something that they're recording right now. Not that it doesn't happen, because it has, but that's really a way of the past. Today, things are usually done in pieces, parts. Mm-hmm. You mentioned my son. My son's an independent musician and producer in New York City, and he's a keyboard player and does commercials very well and things like that. And the way he works, an artist will come in and sing in his apartment, but then it's just torn to pieces and put back together. And how you can do that today with the technology, we hope, is extremely transparent to the client. They don't have to learn all this, but you can. Anybody can go out and spend the money to buy a computer, a microphone, and software, and put up a sign that says IRA Recording Studio. But you have to learn what to do, how to do it, and it's a long process. So part of what we go through with these clients as facilitators is the first time that you're doing this, there's a lot to learn. The second time, it goes a whole lot smoother, and it just keeps getting better and better.
Stark County is most of our viewers. We really try to stick around Stark County as much as possible with Ask the segment that we do for the museum. And like I said, this one's a little bit different, but I think that it's been really wonderful to talk to you, and I can't wait to showcase this wonderful business, because I think a lot of people, unless you're kind of in the industry, you might not even know that it's here. And I think that there's a real opportunity. Maybe somebody out there will be listening and say, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to record in a studio like that, and they'll get to, see it.
Well, we really appreciate that, because that's true. So it takes little pieces, pockets, and little efforts, but actually the best advertising and marketing we have is our clients.
Yeah.
Because they spread the word. And don't interpret just because of these rooms and all these different things we're talking about. We have a lot of clients who are amateur to semi-professional at the best. Maybe they just play guitar and sing, but they write songs. Well, you need to copyright those songs. You might want to give them to grandma and grandpa for Christmas. There are a lot of different things that a studio does that are not the bells and whistles and all the big banners going off and everything else that people are usused to seeing on TV and in the movies.
Yeah, definitely. One more thing I wanted to ask, because we are the Canton Museum of Art, and while music and everything to do with music and recording and things is part of the arts, I also know a little tiny tidbit about Lee that I didn't mention, and you are the photographer for the Akron Zoo. Am I right?
That's correct. Yes.
That's amazing. What is your favorite part about being the zoo photographer? I love animals, so I'm freaking out.
I think the animal and the diversity of the animals, and the Akron Zoo is a very nice and very clean and very unique zoo because you can get so close to most of the animals.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy it a lot.
That's wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Becky.